brethren, my heart's desire and prayer to God for Israel is that they might be saved. For there is no difference between the Jew and the Greek, for the same Lord over all is rich unto all that call upon him. Zola Levitt Presents.
Thank you so much for joining us today on Zola Levitt Presents. I'm David Hart.
I'm Kirsten Hart.
And I'm nostalgic. Jeffrey Seif here. And I say nostalgic, I'm thinking back to the old Mickey Mouse days. I remember at the end there was a song, "Now It's Time to Say Goodbye."
Oh boy, yes.
Now we're not saying goodbye, we're saying hello, but we are changing a name. Zola Levitt Presents is going to morph a little bit. Same program, same people, but
A lot has changed in 40 years. This is a change. Bible prophecy, a lot has stayed the same, yes?
yes. And a lot has changed with this ministry, not least of which the fact is that Zola Levitt is not presented for well over a dozen years. He's gone on to his reward. And the thinking was that the ministry needed to reflect more what Zola was all about rather than build around his person, his name.
Some of you are watching us right now and thinking, what are they talking about? If you only watch us here on a station, a local station, or Daystar, please know that we are remaining the same. The three of us will be here. The set will look the same. Zola Levitt Ministries is now presenting this program as our Jewish roots. And also, just to let you know, you can find us on YouTube. We have our own YouTube channel, and on Facebook and Levitt.com. So much is staying the same, just the name is changing.
Yes, it is. And I think it's a good thing personally. Zola, in his day, now of course it's been well over a dozen years. People that have watched this program for years have seen me for many of them teaching, and we've been carrying on with the work. But we just kept the name. It's a brand name in effect. In Christian television, under this name has gone on for over 40 years. Most programs don't go 4 seasons. And so there was some reluctance to change the name, but finally the board had prevailed, let's do it. So it was done.
You just got back from Israel and did a whole series. We also do dramatic reenactments there, and it seems like we're trying to do a lot more with less finances. We need your support, and we thank you for that. What's up for this year, do you think?
Well, a lot of good things. New series coming out. We haven't rolled back production at all. A new series, a redo of a series on Paul, a great series on Joshua just rolled out. We have just so many good things in the can. Need the help. And
we're building on the legacy of Zola Levitt. And I think you would like this.
I think so as well, too, that we've been carrying on. I mean, it would be one thing if Zola went to be with the Lord last year, and then we're, what are we going to do?
Right.
But it's been well over a dozen.
I like to tell our folks, our viewers, to don't panic. Don't worry, it's all staying the same, except for the name change.
I wonder if we care more than they do. At the end of the day, people have their own issues and their own problems.
True.
People in their living rooms, in their homes, in their head. What they call this television program is, I think, less important at the end of the day to them. The anxiety, don't panic, is probably with us, you know, because will it carry on? That's why people vote with their dollars. If you like what we do, please show it at year end by making a generous donation and say to us, by virtue of your so doing, we support you. Call it what you will. We're all about the good news to the eyes of the Jews, and we love what you're doing.
We are going to carry on into 2020, new programs, new vision, but right now on Zola Levitt Presents, we want to give you a look at what we brought you in 2019.
2019 began with the story of David, originally presented in 2009. It's the warrior king, David-like leadership in Goliath-like times.
so it was that Saul would use his sword one last time.
The expression "to fall upon one's sword" speaks of someone taking their own life. And we're at a place in David's life where he's learned that his nemesis has fallen upon his own sword.
In the anointing of David, we witnessed the birth of a new kingdom, a kingdom which we prayed would never pass away.
Coming to you from the city of David, at the southern part of what's known as the temple complex today, lie these ruins that have been here for centuries. And I'm coming to you, yes, from the Acropolis, the very place, if you can imagine that. It's one of the benefits of teaching here from Israel. We don't just tell the Bible story, we can give individuals a window into it. And what a story this is.
From the beginning, our Creator revealed His will to the common man. Individuals who listened to His call and responded in obedience. From the first Hebrew Avraham to the culmination of salvation in Messiah Himself, the Lord faithfully intervenes with His divine deliverance.
In our new series, Divine Deliverance, we examined how the Lord offered a message of salvation through 12 significant Bible characters, beginning with faithful Abraham and culminating with the Messiah himself. There is enlightening dramatic reenactments from the past series, along with Zola's music completely reorchestrated and sung by me and Kirsten.
Deliverance comes in different ways on different days. In this program, deliverance comes through a beauty contest. And the winner is Esther, as it says in the text, chapter 2, verse 17 of the book that bears her name.
In 593 BC, Ezekiel was among the exiles by the river Kibar in Babylonia, and the heavens were opened, and he saw visions of God. A whirlwind came out of the north, and a brightness was about it.
Hebrews call it the galut. It's a word for exile. Jews were dispossessed, thrown out of the ancestral homeland. They, in effect, were refugees.
Thank God you had died for me.
Pray for the peace of Jerusalem. Jerusalem, may they prosper who love you, Jerusalem.
2019 saw the return of our 8-part series examining Psalms 120 to 134. These psalms may have been sung by ancient Jews going up to the temple in Jerusalem, but they are surprisingly appropriate and timely for believers today. With appearances by Eitan Shishkoff and singing by the great Marty Goetz, here are some highlights from our series, Psalms of Ascent.
If it had not been the Lord who was on our side, when men rose up against us, they would have swallowed us up quick when their wrath was kindled against us. Blessed be the Lord, who hath not given us as prey to their teeth. Our help is in the name of the Lord, who made heaven and earth.
To be sure, war is unpleasant business. Whether it's an ancient soldier donning a breastplate and a sword, or whether it's someone stepping into a modern tank, still, if you can imagine what goes on in the minds of individuals that are thrown against the prospects of their own annihilation.
God keeps His word, and that sometimes it takes a few centuries for it to happen, but the Lord does not forget, and He is reestablishing a community of believers in Yeshua, just as it was with the apostles in the first century, right here in Israel in our times.
The Lord of hosts is with us. The God of Jacob is our refuge. When the nations rage and all the kingdoms fall, He says, I am.
Zola Levitt Presents.
Just last week, we wrapped up an encore presentation of Return to Eden. In this series, Dr. Seif detailed God's response to the fall into sin by Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden, beginning with the creation of a special relationship with a people and a land, eventually leading to the Messiah.
It's a long journey, hundreds and hundreds of miles over tough, uncharted real estate. To make that trek, something's got to be stimulated within your heart of hearts to do it. Much as Abraham made that journey some time back, it's interesting, Hebrews have made their way back to the ancestral homeland here, and many others too, Christians particularly, come here in the tune of millions to walk where Jesus walked. There's just something about being in what's called the Holy Land. God cut a covenant with Abram saying, I give this land to your seed. It's not just that it's given to him, that it's given to his progeny. And it's not just given for the moment, it's given in perpetuity. Now, this is a nice day here in modern Israel, and the land is abuzz. People are taking time off. They work very hard to cultivate all of this, to bring the miracle of Israel out of the earth into the modern world. And there's activity, there's music, there's a kind of bustling atmosphere that brisks here.
We brought you so much this last year, and we couldn't do this without our executive director, also the firstborn of Zola Levitt. We have Mark Levitt with us today. We're so glad you're with us.
And you're our boss, so
yeah,
you're our favorite.
Well, good to be here. Thank you.
So you've been with the ministry for quite a while. How'd you get started?
Well, in 1974, when I was 14 years old, I helped manage Zola's inventory of Bible teaching study booklets and audio cassettes. His office was in a temporary building in our backyard. The house's prior owner was a potter with a kiln back there in which he baked the clay that he'd shaped. Little did I realize I was being baked and shaped for a mission.
Ah, that's good.
I also ran a lawn mowing business out of that building. And,
multi-purpose room
right.
and building, that's good.
And 14 years later, I had a management degree and business experience and became this ministry's manager.
Your dad founded all of this, I mean, years ago. You must have been 5. Were you just 5 when he started all this?
No, actually I was about 14 when he began teaching, and then the ministry came to fruition and added the CBN and TBN networks and many local broadcasters. In 1983, Zola founded the group tour company, the Israel Tour Company. Over the next 36 years, we hosted 100 tours, never canceled one.
Wow.
Shortly thereafter, Zola and Jeff created our correspondence course, a 12-month program with diplomas for those
that we love.
Oh, good.
We just, learned so much. That's a wonderful course.
So you're talking about your dad, and we are sad that we never experienced being with him. He died in 2006.
Yes.
And it must have really shaken things up in the office and with the whole ministry. Tell us about how that happened.
Well, it did, and then Dr. Jeffrey Seif and Zola's widow, Sandra, took Zola's place on television and in the newsletter. We continue to uphold Zola's original vision of teaching the Jewish roots of Christianity, the continuing significance of Israel and prophecy. Zola and Sandra led the tours and spoke in churches. Several years later, Sandra retired, remarried, became active with BSF, Bible Study Fellowship, where she's now a leader. Then Jeff pursued some personal goals after 5 years at the helm, including another PhD. After Miles and Catherine's 5.5 years, Jeff returned more knowledgeable than ever.
We enjoy being with him. He's funny, he's smart, and also the backdrop in Israel is just, I mean, it's just amazing. That's what we're known for on this program is the teaching is in Israel. How many times have you been?
I've been about 4 times.
And are you ready to go back again? You should go with us on a tour.
That's a great idea. That's a great idea.
We're on, I'd say a precipice, but we're just about to start something brand new. We're only changing the name of the program. Everything else is remaining the same. Tell us about what that looks like in the ministry.
Well, we ministry workers remain sentimental about Zola's legacy as founder, leader, teacher, and over the years, his name recognition has faded a bit. So we believe now with a new program title, maintaining our tradition of teaching about the Jewish roots of Christianity, the continuing significance of Israel and prophecy, we can move ahead with a fresh program title, Our Jewish Roots.
I think it's brilliant. We're excited about the change and new vision for 2020. Just real quick, as our boss and the head over the whole ministry, what do you see as the biggest challenge that we're about to enter with 2020 coming up?
Well, our ministry needs more broadcasters and more viewers. In the 14 years that passed since Zola's heavenly birthday, several of our networks went away. Going forward, we'll continue the same quality, on-location, Messianic Bible teaching with a fresh name that will attract more broadcasters and viewers.
Good. Well, it's an honor for us to sit with you.
Yes.
You're my favorite boss.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us today. It's been great. We're excited about 2020, but right now we want to show you some excerpts from the last 40 years. I think you'll enjoy this.
From Dallas, Texas, join Zola Levitt and this evening's guests, Bob Brunig of the Dallas Cowboys, and authors Tom McCall and Ethel Barrett, telling us what they know about Hanukkah and Christmas. From Leipzig, Germany, Johann Sebastian Bach, and we'll be taking a mini-cam look at Christmas in the Metroplex. And now, Zola Levitt Live.
Hello again. Well, the best way I can tell you what we're all doing here and what we're going to do on this show. It means Shalom, son of the commandments, huh?
Where you come?
From America.
Welcome.
Welcome.
First time here, first time?
No, I've been here before.
All the best for you.
Well, thank
What
you.
is your name?
Zelig Halevi.
Zelig Halevi. Your father's name?
Joseph.
Joseph Halevi. Your wife's name?
Yvonne.
Yvonne.
Yeah.
Your children's name?
Well, what is this? I'm making a film. I really can't stop. Look at the camera.
Yes.
And so, in that instance, I was being prayed for by one of the local rabbis.
It's not so much this side or that side, but watching the pilgrims and knowing how they're going to react when we turn the bend in the road. When I know I can say, ladies and gentlemen, the Sea of Galilee, or the Man of Beatitudes, or the Man of Olives, and just watching the faces. So every one of those is special. It's the first of the feasts that God gave Moses on Mount Sinai, and it has been celebrated all that time, through those millennia, through the Inquisitions, the Crusades, the concentration camps, everywhere that Jews were, Passover was always celebrated. Solomon's temple was a wonder of the ancient world, I should say. You could put the Great Pyramid of Egypt down 3 times within the walls, and the walls are similar now. We're looking straight at the southern wall.
And all of a sudden we're seeing Delilah, who is just this horrible, horrible woman that did nothing except to further herself. And just, oh, nightmare. You're right. It's every parent's nightmare.
So we're looking at an 8-part series. Now we're looking at one that got away, a lesson to learn about how not to be in the world as we continue on with our story of women in the Word. Just finished raining in the Gaza. Gaza's right off the Mediterranean Sea, and we do get downpours every now and again. And with the break in the rain, we're getting some work done. This young lady's putting out the wash. This fella's taking care of the roof. He'd do well to be careful. I believe Jesus is the hope of the world. The King of the Jews is the hope of the world. That the Lord, when He ignites passions in people like these, it's beautiful.
I agree. And here's the start of the march at Bissingen.
Here in Bissingen lies the beginning of the infamous Death March in 1945. Work will make you free. That slogan first came to my attention over the gates of Auschwitz and here at the front gate of Dachau.
The time to favor Zion, the time to favor Zion has come. The time to favor Zion, the time to favor Zion has come. The time has come.
Beautiful music from Ted. I love hearing his passion for the Lord and the worship that he sings. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
וכל אשר תיתן לי, עשור ועשרנו לך.
Here we are in modern Israel on Jaffa Street, and we're seeing the miracle of the rebirth of Israel, because we're also seeing that God extends His blessing from Abraham to Isaac to Jacob.
And when Jacob awakens from his dream, he renames this place from Luz to Bethel, where he awakens.
And joining me now in the studio are a couple of new faces that you're going to be seeing in the coming weeks and months. May I introduce Dave and Kirsten Hart. Welcome to Zola Levitt Presents.
Thank you. We're thrilled to be here.
We're thrilled and we're so honored. The Lord has done some amazing things in the last 40 years through Zola Levitt Ministries, Zola Levitt Presents. And I have a feeling there are some things that we may never know about that have happened through this ministry until we get to heaven. You spent some time with Zola.
I go back with him over 30 years when I began the journey, and I've known him and the ministry for many years. I sat at this desk for many years in his wake.
Spiritual life, did that change you at all through working with him, or?
No, I think our spiritual life continues to grow. Mm-hmm. And I grew more professionally by virtue of my association. And it's nice, and it's lost in modernity, by the way. And by that I mean, in certain trades, you start off as a journeyman, an apprentice, and you train under a master. And Zola really was a master at this, a master communicator. He was early in, he was the first, actually, as TV was emerging, to teach the Jewish views, on Christian television. And, you know, I benefited by virtue of association professionally with him, learning. You know, I'm not him, I'm my own man in the way I do it, but certainly my association with him was very helpful personally.
Sure.
He was a pioneer. I mean, no one had done that before, right?
No.
At least on television.
No, I mean, most pastors get a pulpit somewhere with a choir loft behind him, a few banners or some stained glass. All of a sudden, people looking at this guy Zola, and he has Israel. He takes people there. Not only that, there's the name Zola. That doesn't sound like Reverend Harris. Not only that, he would wear these first century garb. He looked at, and he took them to the, he gave people a look at the book. Through the views of the Jews, and he left an indelible mark.
And now this ministry is building on his foundation.
It's been building on it since, you know, I mean, even when he was alive, I developed this Institute of Jewish and Christian Studies. I had my own innovations at play while he was still walking the earth in his day. And in the wake of all that, I was here 5 years after his passing, solo teaching at the helm principally. And we really haven't lost a beat, because our viewers are mature enough to realize that the vision is more important than the visionary.
As we will continue on into 2020, even with a new name, but we continue on.
Yeah, we carry on.
New things to say and do.
And speaking of carrying on, it's the end of the year. And I don't, and you know, we don't. It's really bragging rights to this ministry. If you look at a 30-minute program, we rarely spend any time talking about money. I want to ask you to put your money where my mouth is. That is to say, if you find value in broadcasting the Jesus story and the Jewish story, putting those two together where they touch and kiss, if you value that, please, let me tell you, it doesn't happen on the cheap. We really need you to get behind. And I want to tell you that God blesses those who bless Israel. He curses those who curse. It's a new year, there's a new day, and start off the year by sowing some seed in this field, please. It's good field. There's a good harvest to come. Help us to facilitate it, please, like now.
A new season is what I believe this is. We're retiring the name Zola Levitt Ministries Presents. Kind of a loss, you think, or excitement?
You know, wintertime, the trees they lose their leaves, but new growth comes in the spring. It's the nature of things. And our viewers realize they don't live forever, we don't live forever, but the word of the Lord carries on door to door from generation to generation.
It does. If you're watching this program and you're thinking, what are they talking about, our Jewish roots? This is the new name of Zola Levitt Presents. The ministry stays the same. The three of us will still be here. Same desk, same backdrop, same website, same Facebook page. No worries. Don't worry about that. It's just simply we are changing the name of our program to the heartbeat of our ministry, and it's the heartbeat of the ministry that we've had for 40 years under Zola and under you also. So don't worry about that. This is actually, oh my gosh, our last time signing off as Zola Levitt Presents.
We also want to wish you a wonderful, happy holiday, and we end our program like this.
Sha'alu Shalom Yerushalayim.
Pray for the peace of Jerusalem.
This has been a paid program brought to you by Zola Levitt Ministries.